the midnight strike through Mormon's live stream. Sorry for the technical delays. That's all on me. I was late to this ballpark and I was having trouble getting everything started. And I apologize, my friends, but dutifully, you have been waiting. You will be rewarded. Welcome to the coolest live stream all day. We're going to kick things off with a couple of really cool guests. First in the studio, we have none other than Brittany the Shadow. She's going to catch us up with some pop culture today, let us know what's going on. And we've got the currently most hated man on the internet right now, none other than Skyler Sorensen. Introduce yourself. Skyler, tell us what's up. Who you be, man?
Well, I don't know if I would say the most hated man on the internet. Maybe in like the very niche corners of the internet that you find me. But yeah, I've never done a live show, so this is different. I am Skyler Sorensen. What do you want to know about me?
Just tell us a little bit about yourselves. I mean, basically, the reason why I say you're the most
hated.
Yeah. The reason why I say, possibly the most hated man on the internet is because you did just write you've written a couple of articles. Here's one that you wrote before. I'm a devout Latter-day Saint gay man married to a married woman. This is my story. And you also did recently put out a new article. Why don't you just tell us about it? Tell us who you are and what's this article, what's this opinion, why it was aptly timed, I guess, for the beginning of Pride Month. There's no way that was a coincidence, Tell us more, my man.
Yeah, it wasn't. I actually have another one coming out tomorrow with Public Square magazine. But essentially, I'm a gay member of the church who's married to a woman. I do use the term gay, same-sex attracted, just kind of interchangeably. But my article with Desert News recently was just my take on why, as someone in my situation, I stand for traditional marriage and the principles found in the family proclamations of the world, my religious beliefs, why I do that, my justification for that, why I decided to stay in the church, and why I feel so fulfilled and happy in my marriage, and how I believe others in my situation can pursue the same if they feel called to. And yeah, my new article tomorrow is more centered around Pride, like Pride Month, the movement, why I don't personally celebrate the Pride movement, and kind of the limitations, I think, with the movement, and some alternatives to the movement, and how we can express love to those with differences while still holding true to the gospel principles that we believe bring the most joy and happiness into people's lives.
Okay, well, you're not just being controversial, though, man. I mean, you're taking a third rail of societal sociopolitics right now, and not just touching it, not just challenging it. You're just like shaking it, and so just dive right in. Tell us your opinions. I'm going to go over some reactions that we have. We'll play a little bit of philosophical tennis back and forth, see how you respond to them, and just go from there, because it's fun. And you're a cool guy. We've spoken on the phone before. I find you to be very well-rounded, kind, polite, so on and so forth. So just dive right in, man. Tell us from A to Z what you're thinking. Give us a summary of your article, the whole 9 yards, man.
Man, okay, that's a long list to fulfill.
Yeah. Yeah. Start where you want.
Well, I would say, first of all, I think a lot of people happen upon my content and assume I'm trying to be some sort of provocateur or something like that. I'm actually very much the opposite. Like, I believe that we have a duty to be advocates for the gospel and for Jesus Christ, but do so in the most tactful and loving and graceful way that we can. It just so happens that people really don't like that. Like, no matter how gracefully you present gospel truths, there are going to be those who hate it and despise it and think that you're terrible for espousing those beliefs. And that's unfortunate. I don't like dealing with the backlash. I don't like being in the limelight per se. I think that my message is important just because it's the gospel. But I'm not doing it to get a reaction. I actually really don't like dealing with the backlash, but I still think it's important. But even with, those who, even though you're going to encounter those types of people, I think it's still incumbent upon us to still be graceful, like treat individuals as individuals and treat movements as movements, I try to separate those two things, and understand that specifically with the Pride movement, you have different types of people who engage with it on different levels of like radicalism. So I don't know. I try to see people as individuals, but also offer my genuine critiques of the Pride movement and how I believe a lot of members of the church use it as the way to fulfill the call from our prophets and apostles to love and show genuine love and concern for LGBTQ people. I just think that is it's not the only or even best way to do so. I think we can and should show love to those with differences, using the gospel, using the principles that we already have. I mean, I don't think we need, because unfortunately, with the Pride movement, the the movement is inseparably connected with kind of a progressive social politics and a lot of principles and beliefs that cut against what our religion teaches and what God wants for us. So I think there are better ways to show love and support to the LGBTQ community without better ways than engaging with the Pride movement.
Okay, interesting. Now, first off, I would just like to interject here. That was a lovely opening, and that's actually why I invited you on this program. As much as I come across oftentimes as a jerk provocateur and things like that, I feel like the leadership of the modern LGBTQ IAA plus. If you say it wrong, you get lambasted. But I've seen 17 different spellings, and I do try and get it right respectfully. But if you're, just like there's a difference in Protestantism between the pastor and the people in the pews, there's definitely a difference between leadership in the movement, which has become very anti-Christian, very woke, and very cruel, hypocritically cruel in my mind. I have this rule that anti-Mormons and anti-religious activists, they don't protect minorities. They cultivate them, and they abuse them, and they traffic in their human misery, okay? And so just like I like hearing my tithing talks, not from a rich person that can afford it, but by that widow that has given her two mites. Just like I don't like hearing my law of chastity talks by some geek that could never get girls if he tried, or I don't like hearing my, don't do X talks by a person who doesn't look like they could pull off X ever in their lives. If we're going to be engaged in the conversation of, how the laws of God apply to members of the church who may be gay, God's children who may be experiencing same-sex attraction, whatever you want to call it, so on and so forth, I want to hear them from guys like you who have navigated this minefield, who have gone through it, and who actually respectfully and peacefully and lovingly can engage in that dialogue. So that's why I invited you on. I'm not just trying to flatter you. I actually find you the perfect guy to talk to about this kind of thing. So tell us, you say, okay, I got beef with the way the show's getting run right now. I don't like the way that the Pride movement is happening. I got my opinions, but everybody's already heard mine. We want to hear yours. What's your beef, for lack of better term, and what do you think we could do better, us as straight members or other fellow gay members, the average person that just stumbles into this live stream right now because they saw the link on Ex-mormon subreddit and are hate watching? You know what I'm saying? Like, what can we all do better, and what do you see needs improvement?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, I would say that I don't like. I think that you can learn valuable things from people who have a certain experience, but I obviously don't believe that you have to have a certain experience in order to have an opinion about it or even to vocalize your opinion on it. Because if that were the case, very few people would be spouting off very few opinions about very few things. Because we have the ability to sympathize for a reason. We have ability to understand other perspectives for a reason. So that to say, I appreciate. I have a lot of people come to me and message me and say something like, I really love what you're doing. I wish I could say the same, or like, I wish I could advocate and do what you're doing. And I always want to, say thank you. Like, I really appreciate that. But also, why can't you?
Yeah.
we need more in this conversation, and
Yeah.
you don't have to be you don't have to be someone who's experienced same-sex attraction. You don't have to be gay or whatever it may be to spread the gospel, because that's really all it is. And we all have, as members of the church, we have experience knowing how the gospel works in our lives, and that's really that's an experience that all church members have and should advocate for. So I would say that. And then what was your other question? I had some other
Just
very
what do you think that we could do better? Also, we can just go over the article you wrote, because I mean, you did put some things in here, you know. So actually, let's just do that. I'm just going to put this on the screen here. Unfortunately, you can't see it, what I'm posting right now. I should have sent this to you, but did you see the post by Cultural Hall on you by chance? It was pretty brutal. The one where you painted into a corner. We'll just show that one to the audience right now, just so
yes,
people,
yeah.
yeah, people get an idea of what's going on. Okay, so the second you go out there and you say, hey, wait a second, I don't think it has to be what the mainstream narrative is, you get stuff like this. This was actually the first tweet I saw in response to your very politely well-written article. It says, LGBTQ Mormons, don't do this to yourself. Don't be like Sky. And it shows a bunch of pejoratives like normalize, I can't say this on YouTube too often or else they start flagging us, but normalize hatred towards our brothers that love our brothers. And sky's the limit, obviously making fun of your name. I don't like women, but I married one. I mean, that's brutal. That's a personal relationship that we all consider sacred, and we doubt that you don't love your wife, So if you could respond to some of these things, see how they actually dovetail to the article you wrote, or just kind of summarize. Why don't you just start out by summarizing your article, just telling the viewers who may not have stumbled upon this yet, because it's really making the rounds only in the past 24 hours, Why don't you just summarize your article, tell us what your thoughts were, and then how you think we can improve this situation going through Pride Month in 2023, because it's getting hot out there, bro. It's getting hot,
Yes. Okay. So, yeah. So the article, it's my second one with Desert News. It's the title is "Why, as a Gay Man, I Stand for Traditional Marriage," and I just go over I mean, my specific situation as someone in a mixed orientation marriage, why I decided to do that, how I feel. Um, it's always in a lot of cases when you have to like tell people or try and convince people that you're happy, it usually means that you're not. And so I hate the dynamic of having to like try and convince people that I'm happy. I don't really like doing that because I don't feel the need to. But at the same time, so many people are, it's like in order for their worldview to be upheld, I can't be happy because it kind of stands as almost an argument against some of their beliefs. And so they have to believe that I'm lying to myself or lying about my sexuality or I'm brainwashed or something other than I'm happy. And so I address that a little bit and how I do believe
okay, so
that
what do you say to those people? Because that's the number one thing that we get all the time. He's lying to himself and he's hurting other gays by lying to himself and perpetuating the patriarchy and the stereotypes and the, everything else heinous under the sun that they can accuse you of. How do you address those critics? Because I think that's kind of an understandable question for a layman, but also an argument that should be fielded in the battlefield of ideas, right? So what's your response to that?
I usually try to like decipher if someone is coming at me with a genuine desire to know rather than just wanting to argue with me. I have a rule of thumb where I'll give somebody if someone's coming at me like really aggressively, I'll give them a chance to backtrack. I'll ask a clarifying question or like try to point something out. And if they double down, then I just kind of leave it. But if they are willing to kind of backtrack and say, okay, I'm sorry, I came at you kind of aggressively. Let me try and understand. Then I'll engage with them. And I kind of try and take it person by person because it's all different. There's kind of a difference between just generally advocating for beliefs online and then also having like interpersonal interactions with someone in person or over direct message. There's a different way to do that. So I try to take people one by one, try and understand their perspective, help them see mine. And again, not like I don't really feel the need to assure other people that I'm happy. It just so happens that it's that's something that comes up so much that I like sometimes address it in a way that I don't care if you believe that I'm happy, but I am. And so that's how like
You are far too well versed and polite for cyberspace. You know, you are the antithesis of polemics. You know what I'm saying? You are literally the antithesis of Kwaku. So anyway, that's what we love about you. So yeah, we'll just continue. Like, you know, how do you respond to these critics besides just the how, you know, of like being peaceful and nice, you know, and you say, okay, I don't have to prove to you I'm happy. What would a message you have out there for other members of the church that, you know, some teenager that's starting to go through puberty, he's figuring out his sexuality, so on and so forth. And he's discovering what you were probably discovering whenever you discovered it, right? I think in many regards, I'm respectful of the fact that that can be difficult. I don't think puberty is easy on anybody. You know what I'm saying? Let alone somebody who's wrestling with those kind of questions in their mind. So what would you say to somebody like that? You know, that like lessons I learned along the way that I wish I could inculcate in the 10-year-old younger version of myself.
Well, not to get too self-promoting, but self-promoting.
Oh,
but
self-promote all day long. Please tell me you got a book.
So yeah, so here's my book.
All right. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna do the full screen on you. Put that back up again.
Okay. It's probably back. I think it's mirrored. Maybe.
No, not on my end. Not on my end. No,
it is on mine. So this my book comes out in two weeks. The June 13th, I believe, is the official day. It's called "Exclude Not Thyself: Thriving as a Covenant-Keeping Gay Latter-day Saint," and it's kind of twofold. It's my attempt to kind of speak to my younger self or someone in similar shoes to help them to see.
Wait, did I just nail the promo question without having done any pre? Did I just totally segue you into promoting your book? Like this is straight up Johnny Carson 1976 right here, bro.
So good at this.
Yeah, dude, that was pretty awesome. Okay, keep going, Skyler.
Yeah, so it's my attempt to provide advice for someone in that situation to help them see that. I mean, the title of the book, "Exclude Not Thyself," that's kind of like the main idea that I wish I would have known back then is don't exclude yourself from any aspect of the gospel just because you're gay. That's kind of the main message. And then the other one, I do address other members of the church who are striving to show love and concern for people in my situation under the LGBTQ umbrella, supporting them without enabling a faith crisis or supporting things that goes against their faith. So like finding that balance.
So how do we support? I'm sorry to cut you off, but okay. This immediately came up in my mind as just liquid auditory gold. Okay, how do you support a same-sex attracted member without enabling a faith crisis? Because it really does seem like that is the prevailing false dichotomy that is put and shoved in the faces of youth nowadays, is that if you're gay and you're Mormon, the only options are celibacy and misery, hated by those in the pews surrounding you as you dutifully kneel before the altar of patriarchy in order to loathe thyself for the next 70 years until you die unhappy. Or come with us and join the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and start twerking on a cross of Jesus at Dodger Stadium as your authentic self, right? It's like there's this heinous false dichotomy that is shoved in the face of these kids that to me is just abusive and infuriates me, okay? The idea that somebody says, I do not love one of my fellow children of God is just absolutely infuriating. And then also it's abusive of the teen themselves and of their future. and it's trafficking in the human misery of a society that was less kind than ours is today. And I think the Stonewall rioters and the sit-inners in New York City that were the first generation of gay rights activists would be rolling in their graves if they could see Pride Month in 2024. So anyway, that was a very long monologue. Thank you for dutifully being patient and listening. But what would you say then, in the answer of my original question? How do we support and love our gay members that are coming up in the ranks and they're aging into this issue without enabling that faith crisis and kind of perpetuating that false dichotomy?
I think the kind of the main thing that creates such tension here is the insistence of like putting so many stakes into your identity as a sexual minority, like putting all of the eggs in the basket of sexual identity and seeing yourself primarily as that type of person, as a very a person without experience. That is a very common thing to see in the church, but especially outside the church. So when members of the church are saying something like same sex, like being attracted to the same sex isn't a sin, but acting on it is. There's kind of like it does not compute for people outside or unfamiliar with religion, because this is a core piece of who I am. You're not just asking me to abstain from certain behavior. You are attacking me personally, and you're saying that me as a person is bad. So there's kind of like that false dichotomy of seeing, or not false dichotomy, but there's kind of an insistence that my sexuality is like the very core of who I am. Whereas I see it as more of like Preston, my friend who used to do the podcast with me, he would always explain his sexuality as something that's orbital. So like something that is part of him, but kind of orbital. And like sometimes it'll be going across the skyline and be like, oh yeah, look at that. And then sometimes it's completely gone and you don't think about it. So I really relate to that. So there's kind of that piece of it. There's just like a very different idea of what sexuality is and how core it is to an individual. But as members of the church, I think we should continue to make that distinction, that we're saying that the gospel, or like the commandments, are restrictive for behavior, not people. Behavior is different, and same-sex romantic behavior is different from your attractions. Like, we need to separate those two things, and that's what the gospel does. And so if you're somebody who is seeking to love somebody who is it's kind of different if they're outside the church versus if they're in. There's kind of different dynamics there, but making that distinction, I think, is really important, because it's really the only way, because if sexuality is such a core part of myself, then it does make sense to say you are putting upon me, or you are oppressing me, like my core self. I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And in fact, I think Brittany had a question right here she was going to ask really fast, and then we're going to address a couple of the questions in the chat. This is going great. I'm loving it. Brittany, what do you have to ask?
Well, I didn't really have a question, but I wanted to say hi. It's nice to meet you. And I'm Brittany. And then just going off of Cardin's question, I think it's also with the youth coming up, I think it's so important for guys like you, like Timber Harware,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to come out and just kind of say, like, look, this is who I am, this is my experience, this is how I'm living my life, and it's possible, and I'm happy, and I'm fulfilled. And like growing up, I didn't have guys like you coming out and saying that. So I think it's so important, and especially today, for people like you to kind of be brave and be bold and to speak out and to show, your testimony, and to show how happy and fulfilled you are. I think that's really important. So I just want to give you kudos for that.
Yeah, you got official girl kudos, bro.
Yeah.
That means you're doing
also,
good. Yeah.
I think it'd be so cool too to hear from your wife and like your wife's perspective, because I think that's always like people thinking about that, like, okay, well, what did your wife think when she heard about this? Or, you know, like, so like that part of the equation too, I think it'd be really cool to hear.
Yeah, well,
her.
let's just address that elephant in the room right now too, because like we talked about this with Timber Hardware, right? And I was like, okay, well, bro, I mean, you're gay. Gay is synonymous with liking dudes, okay? But you're married to a girl. We've all seen TV. We've all listened to radio. We've all heard the jokes for 30 years. Like, how do you make that work? And he gave the most honestly beautiful answer that made me realize that I have an absolutely second tier relationship with my wife when it comes to spirituality and divinity. And I honestly look up to Timber Hardware, how he approaches his relationship as a pure and sacred aspect of his life that needs to be cultivated with only the most utmost respect and reverence. Like, I learned from him in the most heartfelt and spiritual way that day. How do you do this with your wife? Like, you know, what's the rationale behind it?
Yeah, I'll first of all say Timber is a good friend, and I agree with all of that. He's really has a really good handle on this thing. His story is really inspiring to me because he is I can't remember if he's a convert or if I believe he's a convert.
Yeah, he's a convert.
Yeah, and was living, you know, a gay lifestyle and then converted. And so anyway, great guy. And I'll also say that my wife and I do the podcast together now. And so if anyone does want to hear more of her perspective, it's just sit down with Sky and Amanda on Apple Podcasts or wherever. And we've done a few episodes. We're recording after this, actually, our next one.
Yeah, so we're getting you out in 8 minutes, bro. Don't worry, I'm making good on that. I'm making good on that promise. And you know, I know you were concerned about your new apartment, but it looks great behind you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. It's you're crushing it, man. So
it's like temporary because it's so tiny, but we're it's just kind of in between. So
okay, cool. Yeah, I gotta tell you, I'd love to hear from your wife as well. We're gonna jump to a couple of super chats really fast. Rex Good says, "Don't ask my wife; she could talk Cardin under the table, and he thinks I'm engaged in hyperbole." Which, you know, probably guilty as charged. We speak very hyperbolically on this show. You know what I'm saying? Although on serious topics, I try and tamper it down. Mormon News Roundup is here. He invited me on his show. I'd love to invite him on mine. Mormon News Roundup, we still got to do that, my man. If you guys haven't heard his show, he's a prolific studier of all things news and current Mormon. You can give him a sub, check him out. And then Diamond Dave gives you a shout out, Brittany, and says, "Let's go Shadow." If any of you guys have any questions that you want to ask.
Okay, wait, you forgot a super chat.
Oh my gosh, did I forget it? Well, you got to read it out,
Did you do
babe.
Palace 1?
No, you're the keeper of the super chats. You're the keeperess. What's a female keeper? Like actor, actress, priest, priestess. Are you the keeperess?
I'm just the shadow.
Okay, you're just the
Palace
shadow.
1 said, "I love your channel. Thanks for the amazing work." Well, thank you, Palace 1.
Or maybe is she talking about Skyler? I don't know.
Oh, that's true. That's awkward.
You know,
maybe she's just talking to you, Skyler.
If you're talking to me.
Yeah, totally awesome. Well, here's a question that I had for you. That I had for Timber that I'd like to ask you right now. And this is just off the cuff. You don't have to come up with anything deep, okay? But what do you think are the top, and it doesn't have to be 3. You can tell me the top 2, the top 5, the top 4, whatever. But what are the top 3 lies you think that are told to gay members of the church?
Ooh, I would say the big one, going back to the title of my book, is that we're somehow an exception to the commandments, an exception to the blessings of living the gospel, just an exception to that. That's like that's always the end conclusion of any temptation from the adversary. It's always, you are not, like, you're an exception because of XYZ. Whatever XYZ is, it's always the same. Like, that's always the conclusion that he wants you to come to. So I'd say that's the big one. I'm stalling so I can think of.
Don't worry. You're doing a great job. You know what I'm saying? I will just mirror that. I like what you said a lot earlier. And in one of our first podcasts that I ever did, this was probably about 3 years ago. Kwaku looks like an absolute child in the video. In fact, it's kind of hilarious. But we did an interview with Jim Bennett, okay? And I asked him, like, what do you think is the most important teaching of the church? And we all kind of gave our answer. And I said, for me, it's the constant repetition And this was before Russell M. Nelson had come out and said, first you're a child of God, second you're a child of covenant, third you're a
disciple of Christ.
See, this is why we got you on the show, because you just crushed that one. Disciple of Christ is what my answer was. That I think it was inspired that the first page one in the children's songbook is I am a child of God, and the fact that we constantly rehash the importance as our primary identity being that of deity, that we are anthropomorphic children of God. We have an infinite worth that is unconditional. And I saw this kind of in a prophetic way years ago as the most important response to what I saw as the logical conclusion of the slippery slope of all of these bad woke ideas getting put in, right? I had no idea when I said those words in like 2019 or 2020 that we'd be sitting here in 2023 having the societal arguments that we're having, and that phrase having worked out and been ultimately uttered by Russell M. Nelson himself, who I'm sure ripped it off from me. So I either need to start demanding royalties or a promotion to at least like stake presidency or area authority level. Ellis for profit 2025. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway,
Are you speaking about me?
Yeah, exactly. Brittany the Shadow for Prophetess 2025. But anyway, I would just like to mirror what you said, that I think it is so beautiful and important. What I have thought, what Russell M. Nelson has prophesied, and what you here seem to be conveying in both your newly written book and your articles, that your first identity, your most important identity, is that of a child of God, and other things are just orbital. Like, other things are literally just orbital, and let's focus on this. Let's go back to the basics, because the basics are good. Before we continue, and you tell us what you think the second big lie is that's told to young gay members of the church, Skyler, I'll stall one more longer for you and give a big shout out for Carolyn Wright Gaines Music. Thank you so much for the super chat. She's so generous. She just super chats us and just says,
not even a question.
Yeah, wow. Not even a question.
Okay, that's great.
But she's a musician, so before you go, you have to tell her what your favorite band is. You know what I'm saying? And so all of us can see if we have good taste or not.
Let's all say our favorite bands.
Okay, before we go any further, this is fun. What's your favorite band, Skyler?
Ooh,
this is a live stream. We're in Hill. We go down rabbit holes and tangents, bro.
We all have a little bit of ADD.
It's a little bit basic, but my wife and I are very big 21 Pilot fans.
Oh, okay. That was a super ungay answer. You know what I'm saying? I got to tell you, what was that movie? Will and Grace would be ashamed of you right now. No, I'm just kidding. So let me see.
It's a TV show, not a movie.
You're right. You're right. Okay, so his favorite band is 21 Pilots. What's yours, babe? Would we have failed that?
I'm a big Swiftie. But I also love the Airborne Toxic Event.
Yeah, see, I would have guessed Airborne Toxic Events, although you were huge into Paramore.
I was huge into Paramore.
Until she went woke, and that was a little bit oops. You know what I'm saying? Okay, cool. And then mine, gosh, my favorite band. That's a toss-up. I
was going to say Muse for you.
I was going to say, yeah, Muse immediately comes to mind. But you know what? I've been into girl bands. I was an early adopter of No Doubt back when they were a local Southern California band based out of Orange County. So Gwen Stefani's up there. Same with, come on, Catholic from Ireland, super Florence and the Machine.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a big Florence and the Machine fan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. So anyway, now we've had all the fun pop culture out of the way. No, I'm sorry. And Carolyn Wright Gaines.
Yes.
I haven't heard a note of her music yet, but I got to tell you, I love it.
We are big fans.
You know what I said? Okay, so hit it. Keep going, Skyler. You got like 5 minutes left before your lovely wife and kids come home, and you got to bounce, man. So tell us, what do you think are some of the other lies told to young gay men that we can disabuse them of, bad narratives we can get rid of in order to help them on their path to becoming half as cool as you are?
Oh, man. Those are big shoes to fill. I don't know if they can quite get there, but I would say just the idea that you can't be happy in the gospel as a gay Latter-day Saint, or that the gospel is not made for you. It's kind of an extension of the first one, a little bit of a cop-out, but really just like that there's this again false dichotomy between being miserable or being in the church. Like, I'm not happy in spite of my activity in the church and my marriage. I'm happy because of those things. And I'm not saying that it's easy or that there are not nuances or that it won't be painfully hard and you'll have to grapple with some really hard questions. Those are all true. But the like the crux of the gospel, the main message is that it is for everyone. And I posted something recently. The post that has gotten the most heat in the past little while, actually, it was
Oh, I'm liking this. Whatever it is, I'm liking this. Keep going.
essentially it was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the safest place for LGBTQ people. That was the post, and
I agree.
I mean, I expounded in the caption of why I think that, and how I was primarily talking about spiritual safety and how the church is for everyone, the gospel is there to protect all of us. But then I also, just because people were bringing it up, I also linked some studies that showed that LGBTQ people who self-identify as active members of the church typically fare better emotionally and mentally than those who don't. And there are different reasons why people think that may be. Some people think substance abuse, alcohol, not being a factor in the church, that plays a big role. But at the very least, it's not this doom and gloom narrative that we hear so much, that if you are gay and a member of the church, you're going to be miserable.
Well, also, I would just say this is my suspicion. I'll just jump right in. But my suspicion is I work in Hollywood. I live in Los Angeles, man. I know how these people operate. The media will use and abuse you for anything. They don't view you as human. You're a piece of meat that can either have a photograph taken of it to sell a product that I want to push, or you're an actor or actress that is good enough looking for this part that's going to sell the movie posters of this Oscar I want to win. Like, the world never views you as anything other than an object that can be used in and exploited in pursuit of the thing that I want out of you. And your only value in the world is how good looking you are, what political or social power and clout you have, or how much money is in your bank account. And the gospel is a counterbalance to that. We come out guns blazing and say, no, the poorest pauper, the most impoverished widow and her two mites has given just as much as the wealthy person, if not more, due to her sacrifice, than the wealthy person over here who's making a lot of noise, giving his donation. That we are all children of God and that we have a moral obligation to each other. And this is where, to me, the coherence of the movement needs to be challenged. Because if the coming out is so difficult, and if the being gay is so difficult, and we know that this is a part of our society, that 1%, that 2%, whatever percent it is, that will always exist, wouldn't you want that 1 or 2% to always exist in a society of other men and women that viewed this child of yours that is going to come out and realize they're gay as a fellow child of God that has an infinite value and needs to be supported and loved as a brother? To me, that is a counterbalance to all the crap the world wants to put you through. Because the second the world finds out you're gay, they're like, oh, sweet. You got to join our social media groups. You have to hate the people we want you to hate. You need to buy the products we tell you to buy. And you need to subscribe to all of XYZ. You instantaneously just become a dot in an algorithm, a cog in their machine. Whereas in the gospel, and it's proven that children who go through religions that have rites of passage, such as the priesthood, in the gospel, that kind of self-interest that will never go away, at least is counterbalanced. Is any of this ringing true, or am I just an outsider looking in and you're like, Cardin, you're trying. Is any of that ringing true?
Yeah, yes, very much so. I think a counterbalance, I think that's a great way to put it, because it really is very counter to a lot of the ideas that we encounter in pop culture and in our modern world. And I mean, it's no wonder that rates of depression and mental health issues are plummeting, or are I guess skyrocketing, whatever way you want to look at it, with all of these ideas about self-fulfillment and atomistic individualism, finding your true self, whatever that is, and moving away from responsibilities, the things that bring us purpose and actual substance and joy into our lives. All of those things, the gospel helps to promote and give context to and more weight to, and I think just really is essential to be a happy person. You have to have that backbone.
Okay, well, we're just going to go over a couple of super chats in the last 3 minutes before you got to go. Carolyn Wright Gaines Music just came back and said, Skyler, did you have to do some spiritual work and counseling to help you learn about mature love? I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means?
I don't know exactly what that means.
I think I've heard Timber use the term, but
okay.
I think it's a reference to like the 5 different types of words that existed in Greek for love, whereas now love has basically been, reduced down to just lust for whoever is that week's flavor of the week. I think that's what she's getting at. You can respond to that briefly.
I didn't do anything related to that, but I will say that I did seek professional counseling and did that for a good while, and I found it helpful and gave me some good practical skills to not necessarily deal with issues of my sexuality, but just practical skills for overcoming negative thought patterns and things like that.
Oh, dude, I got to tell you, I was a psychology minor, and when you learn about Albert Ellis, you learn about masturbation, how the human beings, how the human mind has a tendency to think of all these musts that we have to do. I mean, gay or straight, we will mind F ourselves, and learning these techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. I think every single person, every single bishop before they become a bishop, and just every person before he becomes an adult has to understand what cognitive behavioral therapy is. It's helpful. And the fundamental attribution error, how we realize that we always blame our situation for our errors, but with others we blame them and their person or their personality. Yeah, I agree with you. I think everybody should learn those. Here's just a couple more really fast. Rex Good says, actually, someone said to me a couple of years ago in Gospel Doctrine, the men like me can't ever be forgiven. Well, shame on them. That is undoctrinal. There's not a single sin out there that cannot be atoned for through the gospel of Jesus Christ. So whoever said that, tisk, you got the gospel wrong. And also Ben Christensen just joined. Welcome very much to the Telestial Kingdom, Ben Christensen. He just joined the chat. So anyway, I want to be respectful of your time, my man. I'd love to sit here and talk with you for hours, but I did indeed promise you'd be out before 45 minutes. So you've been super gracious. Tell us what your book is going to be and any last thoughts, my man. Any last thoughts you have?
Yeah, my book comes out June 13th, audio and ebook and paperback on Amazon, or Cedar Fort is the publisher. So you can find
that's
it there.
Jonah Barnes' place too. Oh, that's cool. They're like a little up and coming publisher. They're a small little house based out of Utah, but they've got a couple of really cool books that have come out recently, right? Or did I just totally misidentify that?
As far as I know, they've been around since the 80s, and they are in Springville. Relatively, I mean, they're an LDS adjacent publisher, and they've been really great to work with. I was really worried that just kind of the nature of the topics that I went over, I was worried that they were going to try and make me water things down and things like that, but there was none of that, and so I'm really, really happy with that. No like substantive final thoughts. But I did want to say I'm sad Kwaku isn't here, because I wanted to remind him of something he probably wanted to forget. My friend and I.
Okay.
We coerced him into acting in one of our student films. He was the main character in this short film about a sim character, like the game Sims, who breaks the bounds of the game and like breaks out of the game, and it was a really bad short film, but he was a good sport for being in it. And
what was the title of this? What is the title? Tell me right now. What is it?
Oh man, what was it? It was Simon Simmons, maybe. It's been a while. I can try and find it and send it if it doesn't pop up there.
Oh my goodness gracious! Here is Simon Simmons on Facebook. I've never seen this before, but I am it says BYU student films. Oh my gosh, were you a BYU film student? Were you a media arts major back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, well, this is on BYU student film, so I don't feel bad putting it up here. But oh my goodness gracious. What is this?
He was a good
So you just
sport.
want me to introduce myself?
Oh, he looks like a child.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's
Okay.
see here.
Am I looking at this camera? Am I looking?
Okay, now I can't get flagged for copyright, so we're just going to go through this thing, and we're going to see if there's anything funny that shows up. But what on earth? Oh my goodness, he's shooting shots. He's lifting weights. Oh, what is this? What is this witchcraft you have put together? How come we have never seen this? Kwaku L, we have questions and we demand answers. Why haven't we been shown this before, my friend? Kwaku L is Simon Simmons, and you know who outed him? Our buddy Skyler Sorensen. I can't think of a better outro, bro. Skyler, that was awesome. You could get the heck out of here, bro. Thanks for coming. Put your book up again before you bounce. Put your book up again.
Okay, all right, here it is.
All right, awesome. Thanks, man. We're going to continue
Thank
live
you.
streaming here after you're gone. We're going to
I
continue
think I had
live
a
streaming.
super chat for him.
But, one last super chat for you before you go.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes. One last super chat before you go. We got a question here from D. Carts. Skyler ever reached out to David Archuleta?
I have not reached out to him personally. I did write a Substack article that talked about he had a concert that he did in Delta, Utah, which I lived in Delta for a little bit, where he talked about some of, I don't know, I just offered some critiques, some constructive criticism for some things. So I haven't reached out personally, but I've written a little bit.
All right. Awesome, my man. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us. You are free to go. I would have the audience clap for Skyler, but they can't hear you. So we'll catch you on the other side, my man.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, sweet. So, dude, that guy was awesome. What'd you think, babe? He's such a cool guy.
He is cool.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I got to tell you, there is, I should have asked him this before he left, but I wanted to be respectful of his time. But some of the most peaceful and beautiful souls I have met are active gay members of the church. Like, do you remember that interview we had with Timber? And how we just talked about how, I
wasn't on it. I don't think you invited me on. But
Oh, I didn't?
I did hear it and I watched it.
Oh, as a loving wife, you dutifully watched it. And
Yes.
then, okay. Well, he just talked about how, as I committed to God, my heart was changed, and I love my wife deeper than any other human relationship that I have. I was changed. I know this is through Christ, and this can happen for anybody. And he had such a peace when he spoke, and such a depth and a profundity, a profoundness. I don't know. The chat's going to have to help me out with that one. But I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I seek to emulate your human relationships. I want that peace. And that reminds me of what the Book of Mormon guarantees, eternal life in the life to come, but peace in this life. Doesn't guarantee that you're going to have, wealth, riches, that you're going to be super stoked all the time and happy,
Man.
Yeah,
That's news to me.
I'm saying, yes, I think we do need to contemplate on the happy state of those that obey the commandments, as the Book of Mormon says, right?
Yeah.
But I always thought it was so interesting and beautiful that the promise was peace. And I see such peace when I hear Skyler speak, and I see such peace when I hear Timber Harward speak, that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I want to be
You know
like
what
this
I
man.
love the most about like talking to those guys and hearing what they have to say?
What?
You're a better husband after.
Oh, shut up, really? Oh, savage.
You're always like, I'm sorry. Oh, I need to be better. Oh, so I need to say thank you to Timber and thank you to Skyler. It's great.
Oh, seriously? So how long does it last?
No, I mean you're a very good husband. I'm just being facetious.
No, but like if it's an extra day or two, maybe we need just a 48-hour.
I mean probably like a solid 12 hours.
Hey, well, that's an improvement. That's an improvement on what we had before, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So anyway, okay, we're going to continue on to the second part of our chat here. This is going to be super fun. Brittany the Shadow is going to catch us up on all the things that are going on, because there is so much that's happened. I have wanted to live stream. I have wanted to live stream every hour of this entire week just to catch up on everything that's been going on.
Yeah.
How's the Target boycott going amongst you ladies?
Yeah. So I mean, well, like
Have
I
you
said,
broken down yet? Have you
No.
broken down and gone
I
back?
haven't shopped at Target in probably like a month over. Like I boycotted before the boycott was cool. I made that trend. No.
Okay.
No, I'm not really a Target person. But I know some friends that were, and it's tough. They're now at Walmart, but it's fine. It's all good.
Okay.
But Target's lost like 13 billion, I think is what it's at now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And this year, I also haven't noticed the insane fury. Usually it's just nothing but a social media blitz June 1st with all the logo changes and everything. And it seems like it's been a lot more well measured this year. And what's interesting is I keep thinking back to Jordan Peterson, where he said, all of us knows what happens when the right goes too far, but none of us knows what happens when the left goes too far. I'd like to pull up examples, but unfortunately YouTube would flag this as just wildly inappropriate, which I think says something in and of itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were dealing here in Los Angeles with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence being the new face of Dodgers inclusion here in Los Angeles. While there's nothing but videos of them literally dressing in all of the sacred garments of the Catholic Church, and it's one thing to show up as a in a Halloween party once a year as like that freaky nun from the horror movie, like. None of us think Joe Rogan is an anti-Catholic because, once he expressed absolute disdain for anybody that was associated with their scandals against children a decade ago. None of us are concerned about that. But when your entire personality becomes devoted to criticizing, mocking, and satirically lampooning constantly without any rest one specific religion in a way that is on a low level considered blasphemous to them, but on just like a normal level considered just grotesque, I think it's okay to call that an anti-Catholic hate group. And just like Jordan Peterson says, when is too far for the left. I think that Pride Month goes too far when it goes from being pride for what you are to becoming hatred for what somebody else is, especially when that somebody else is religion, which should be a protected class in our society as well.
Be confident in yourself. If you want to show, I'm very proud of who I am. Okay, great. Then show that. Don't show hating religion. When did that become what you're proud about?
Yeah. It's pretty brutal out there. So anyway, on a happier note, you know what I'm saying? I swear, I'm not even talking about Pride Month the rest of the day. We'll do another more well-measured podcast. But
do you want to talk about the orcas?
Oh my gosh, you were mentioning that. Okay, tell us what's going on. Just do a pop culture catch up right now.
I don't think anyone's going to care about this.
Just do a pop culture catch up right now. Okay, what?
And I have the mic.
Did you throw these into the Discord? Are we going to start pulling these up from the Discord?
No, my phone died. And I don't remember. It might be far back in the Discord because this was like a week ago, I think.
Oh, okay. No, I will look it up.
You could Google it, though. It's safe to Google.
Okay.
Okay, chat. Have you heard about the orcas, this pod of orcas off the coast of Spain that are literally tipping over boats and yachts? And apparently, this is what scientists say, so I don't know.
Oh, you mean the guys that said the cloth masks cure COVID?
Yeah, something.
Okay, yeah,
something.
those guys. Uh-huh.
But these are like marine biologist scientists, okay? They said that the matriarch of this pod, I think her name is Gladys, was harmed by some fishing boat. I don't know how she was harmed, but she's still alive. And so she went back to the pod and supposedly taught them how to go on either side of the boat to rock it so that it flips over, or to go underneath the ship and take a chunk out of the the rudder, I think, so then it sinks from inside. But they've sunk multiple boats off the coast of Spain, just this pod of orcas.
Oh my gosh, look at these orcas. They are going savage here. I mean, so all of these
and they're teaching their young. So their young are now attacking too. Like, it's like this whole network of angry orcas, and I think it's fascinating because I love orcas.
Oh, I mean, this is absolutely insane. I'm reading this article here, and I do remember what is up with the orcas lately, because just 2 or 3 weeks ago we were having a problem off the coast of California with sharks. Do you remember when the sharks were starting to get hammered by the orcas and the dolphins so badly?
Yeah, the great whites.
Yeah, the great white sharks were getting hammered so badly that what's it called? They had like their kidneys taken. They were just getting eaten
Their
for their
livers.
their
They
livers.
would just take a chunk out of their liver, and then the sharks would die, and then they could eat the rest of the shark. So they just knew to bite where it counts.
Oh my gosh, this is straight up brutal.
Yeah.
And so now they've got a pod of orcas
Yeah.
that are actually just attacking Spanish yachts, and they think it's because the mom of the pod
The grandma,
is
the
just pissed.
matriarch, got harmed, and it pissed off the entire pod.
And look at this. There's been over a dozen attacks. Oh my goodness gracious. And this doesn't even show the guy that had the GoPro underwater of the
Yeah.
orca taking a bite out of the freaking rudder on the boat. That would
crazy.
have to be absolutely terrifying. Dude, if these things were coming after your boat, look at that. If you actually looked out the back and you saw a straight up orca, nobody appreciates the size of these things until they see them up close. Man, I got to tell you, that's pretty wild, but pretty dang cool. So anyway, all right, what's going on? Anything else? Hit us up. We got, we've got another 4 minutes here in our
I
1 hour
did
live
put
stream.
in the
Hit us.
Discord.
Uh-huh.
I don't know much about it, but I thought it was cool, so I put it in the Discord.
Okay, hit it.
Paradise Cove, California.
Uh-huh.
There was a massive baptism. I think they said they baptized like 5,000 people in one day.
Really?
Yeah, and it was quite a sight. I mean, there were people like on the cliffs waiting to be baptized down in the ocean. I don't know, it was just,
Wow.
it was very
look-
cool to see. You don't see mass baptisms like that. At least I didn't.
Well, you know, I got to say, I got to give a shout out here to our boy, Jacob Hansen and Thoughtful Faith. He's actually going to come and hang out with us here within 48 hours. If you guys would like us to live stream with Jacob Hansen, please let me know, because I think he's one of the biggest philosophers in Mormonism of the 21st century. I jokingly call him the Jordan Peterson of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints 2023. But yeah, here it is in Pirates Cove, California. There is something going on, just like the Red Hot Chili Peppers said in the 90s that Californication is a real thing, okay? Where California goes, the world goes. And I got to tell you, there is an absolute revival going on. And the reason why I wanted to shout out our boy Jacob Hansen here is because if we go to Twitter and we go to Thoughtful Faith, he just posted this recently, and I can't agree more with what he said, okay? And actually, I just looked up thoughtful, which is not the same as thoughtful_faith, which I do believe is his moniker. But he said the following, okay? That, oh goodness gracious, right here. Been working with the young men, with this awesome kid for 4 years, despite his dad falling away from the church, made the decision to serve. He's going to Angola, Africa, so on and so forth, yada, yada. Awesome. But then the next one is this one's where the money's at. He says, I have been noticing a spiritual revival brewing. Many young people are seeing how insane their generation are and becoming deeply converted to the gospel as the antidote to the social chaos of modern society. We will soon have 8 missionaries serving from my ward. Okay, there is no way that you can read that tweet and then look at this TikTok and not see that there is
Not that one.
yeah, not this one. It's got a.
You went to another ad.
No, I know it did the. Oh gosh, I absolutely hate TikTok because now I have to go back to the Discord. You know what I'm saying? And once I go back into the Discord, I'm gonna pull up the TikTok and I have to make sure I do the link, not pressing the play button. But here it goes, right here, and let's unmute it so the audience can see. Yeah, I mean, that is a massive crowd. That's like John the Baptist style, okay?
Yeah. And this isn't the first time. I don't know what this church is. I forgot the name of it, but this was like, they've had several of these mass baptisms in this cove.
Interesting.
That's not just like a one-off. Like, they've baptized thousands and thousands of people.
Well, we're considering reaching out and doing a collaboration with these guys, and I got to tell you, I think the movement is called Save California. You can look them. Oh, California will be saved. Look at this. I mean, this is just showing you where this is going. And I think California's showing leadership here and leading the charge. But this is an evangelical movement, I believe, okay, but not psycho-evangelical. They're very ecumenical, and these guys seem to be willing to reach out and do interfaith dialogue, and I have a lot of respect for them. I'm a very ecumenical guy in that regard. In fact, I actually bought an ecumenical patch for my church bag to carry to church. That's kind of cool. So it says, California will be saved. Where California goes, the world goes. About California will be saved. And they got a little, I don't want to call it a teaser here, but they got a really cool summary of what their movement is. And I'm just going to read this for you guys. It says, the Lord dropped this question into our hearts. What if California is known for the gospel of Jesus Christ? How would that impact the nation and the nations of the earth? Many of our team have been praying for years for a move of God to sweep across California and spread through the nation. They're putting their prayer into action. They're compelled by their vision to be seen in every city in California. And when you look at some of these graphics, I mean, it is so cool. You pull up the full gallery and it's like huge movements. They're having a lot of success. And one of the ones that was really brought to my attention, I won't spend the time trying to find it right now in front of all you guys in real time, but the one that caught my attention was this big bold letter that says, where California goes, the world goes. And so I really think we got to flood California with love, and it's working. And what's happening in Pirates Cove, I think hopefully it will get bigger. And I don't want to give away too much, but me and Kwaku have actually had serious talks about starting a music festival here in Los Angeles, like a Christian music festival at some private property that we know that won't just get canceled by all the woke, anti-religious woke scolds and everything like that. And I think it's going to be cool. So I'm going to address some super chats while you think of anything else cool that's been going on that we got to get caught up on, because you really are our connection to the real world.
Yeah. I live in the world, but not of the world.
Oh, boom, shakalaka, poems of praises right there. Okay, so Danny Gray says, yeah, the prophet announces 2 new temples in California, and suddenly more people are being baptized to Christ. Imagine that. We're only one step closer to the restored gospel. Diamond Dave says, make baptisms a trillion. That's hilarious, playing off of the make it a trillion hashtag back when there was the fake Ensign Peak scandal, right? And then we're also looking at Ben Christensen saying TikTok is the devil. I don't know if it's a devil, but I got to tell you, I think it's the closest thing we've got to an actual psyop from China, just gleaning all of our information for free. So I believe there has to be some kind of regulation on TikTok.
China already knows everything about you.
But everything that Congress has proposed has just been a nationalist takeover of the U.S. that I fear more than China knowing what my, Social Security number is, right? So, let me see. There's one other one that was funny. Oh, yeah, here it is. Danny Gray was asking Cardin, is the rebrand going to mess with our channel memberships? No, it won't, because the channel is getting rebranded. You will still be a member of the channel, and you will even have the same tier. We may increase a couple of tiers for some of the people that wanted to be able to give more and receive a little bit more, but your channel membership, as it is right now, will be unaffected. I am the opposite of Barack Obama, who said, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your channel membership, you can keep your channel membership. You know what I'm saying?
But
that was a shameless elder millennial political dig right there. You know what I'm saying? And Diamond Dave says, man the harpoons. Yeah, that's pretty funny right there. One of the coolest things you'll ever see is the whale migration in California, though. If you ever have a chance to go out and rent that boat and go in between the Channel Islands or Baja,
I think we
California.
missed it. Isn't it the month of May? It's the best.
There's a season. There's a season where it can actually just be seen from the shore, and it's just you don't realize how small you are until you are right next to a gray whale.
Think of how Jonah felt.
A California gray whale, yeah. And a California gray whale isn't even the biggest whale. I think the blue whale is the biggest whale. Yeah. But it reminds me of that scripture where in is it the Book of Moses? Or wait, no, it's the Pearl of Great Price, where sorry, not the Book of Moses, but Moses sees the eternities, and he says, and I realized man is nothing, such thing I had never contemplated before. I totally butchered that scripture, and everybody's gonna be like, no way. But anyway, yeah. That's that you feel that way sitting next to one of these whales. Anyway, Diamond Dave says, as always, wonderful stream. We should get a group Zoom or something going. Would love to chat with you guys and other members of this channel. Hey, I'm one step ahead of you, Diamond Dave. Actually. And you know what? chat, while you guys are here, before we wrap up, I would like to interact with all of you. Just, members, non-members alike, whatever. Just tell me what you think. I've considered getting a Patreon for the channel because you are constantly worried on YouTube about getting some kind of arbitrary community guideline strike, activists flagging your channel, some kind of odd copyright violation getting flagged by an algorithm that's actually protected by fair use when it's not. And you have no recourse because there's no human on the other end, unless you're literally a channel with 1 million subscribers. You really don't have recourse. I think YouTube is a wonderful platform, and actually a lot of these gripes that YouTubers have, I think sometimes are unjustified. You're not entitled to people's clicks. You're not entitled to their views. You need to provide good content, and YouTube has been a massive blessing for me in my life. I'm grateful that YouTube exists. So I don't say this as a pejorative against YouTube. I just say there is a concern, though, that as a small guy, you would have all of your Google AdSense taken away by some kind of arbitrary violation of something you wouldn't be able to get back. So we've considered having some kind of sort of Patreon or a subscription to our website, just like the Daily Wire, because as part of our rebrand, we are going to be posting our video content as well on our website. Okay, so you can keep your channel membership here, and you will be rewarded with extra additional content for your channel membership. But we were thinking about doing something like a Patreon, but Patreon's kind of woke, so we're thinking about going with Subscribestar, which gives you access to a Discord. And I've actually already started the Midnight Mormons community Discord, which has a really cool function where you can do a big voice call, like a giant Zoom if you ever want to. And I'm in the studio so often editing our videos and creating thumbnails, inviting guests on the show, coordinating plane flights for Kwaku and Brad and so on and so forth, that easily once a week I could engage in some kind of cool private Discord. So Subscribestar has a requirement as one of its tiers, the ability to engage in a Midnight Mormons community Discord. So if you would be interested in that, please let me know in the chat if you'd be interested in that. However, if you would not be interested, or you just don't even know what that is, and that really doesn't ring your bell, then please respond in the chat as well. It's been recommended that we also do an OnlyFans. I do have an OnlyFans, actually. It's a link straight to the Law of Chastity on the website of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. No, I'm just kidding. But sometimes people can't tell if those are my feet pics or yours, right, babe? So anyway,
I do not have hairy feet.
Yeah, neither do I. So no, anyway. So yeah, we're thinking about having a Discord. And also some of these other cool things like the merch and stuff like that, we've kind of held off on until this mid-July rebrand is done, because we would like to go guns blazing on the rebrand. And one of the parts of the rebrand that I think we're going to do is actually give a subscription to our site, so you can read some of the blog articles and things like that we do as well. So anyway, Carolyn Wright Gaines Music says subscription as long as you get all the funds. I was worried when I contribute dollars that the financial app gets a big part of that. Yeah, YouTube does take, I believe, on larger super chats like 18 to 25%, on smaller ones like 30%, but the rest does go to us. And YouTube offers a super chat, which is different than all other live streaming platforms. So it is superior, and they do have to pay their bills somehow, and they do have to pay for all the live streaming and the servers and everything. So I don't really have a problem with that. However, it is a thick margin that they take. It's a very profitable margin, and there's definitely much more efficient ways of doing that. I'm also going to be getting, as part of the rebrand, I've actually already gotten it, we just haven't disclosed it yet and given it out yet until the rebrand is over, but there will be a physical address in which you can just simply send a check. If you want to contribute, you can just send a check, and you will be able to Zelle as well. So we're really adulting over here at Midnight Strike Through Mormons.
Who sends a check?
Believe it or not, I've actually had 2 people this week who've said, hey, do you have a physical address that you could send a check to? And it's also it's also the physical address where I have people send 3 copies of the books if they want us to review the books.
I stand corrected.
So anyway, it's that's what we're going to be doing. So before we go, are there any topics that you guys want us to cover in some of these upcoming videos with Jacob Hansen? Because we got Jacob Hansen coming in the studio, assuming that his child's baseball team loses, though. So we're all rooting against his child's baseball team so they don't make it to the finals, so that we get to enjoy him here. No, I'm just kidding. We do not wish that upon his child. There's plenty of times that he can come. But if they do lose, we will be able to enjoy his presence on our live stream. And Saint Laurent says, I'd actually be interested to see you kind of establish community of video content like Daily Wire with some other YouTube LDS members. Yeah, believe it or not, that's the goal. I have reached out. It's actually kind of funny you mentioned that. Actually, I will show proof here. I somehow got recommended, now that I'm doing a lot more tweeting. P.S. Follow me at Cardinellis on Twitter and at M-Mormons, short for Midnight Mormons, on Twitter, because we're getting a lot more active on Twitter. That's also where we're posting announcements for our live streams. That's also where we're posting different announcements and rebuttals of different things. Twitter is its own beast, and we're really cultivating that channel more. But I'm getting recommended all these different things. And one of the things I got recommended, I haven't really vetted them or looked into them yet, but there's a group called Nauvoo Supply, okay? And Nauvoo Supply, thank you for the reminder. Jonah Barnes, thanks for the super chat. Says reward good content. Like, sub, and hit the bell. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, please subscribe to our channel. And make sure that you hit that alert icon, because you will not get all of the alerts unless you actually hit the bell icon. You only get 1 out of like 20 of our videos because you subscribe to 150 channels. So you have to hit the alert bell if you actually want to see all of our good stuff, okay? And please make sure you hit the like or the dislike button. You know, if you didn't like us, send us a big fat message and say dislike. If you liked us, please make sure that you just pause right now and you hit the like button. That tells the algorithm that our stuff is worth seeing. Also, you'll notice that I'm premiering a lot more content and being able to hang out in the chat during the premieres, which is actually pretty dang fun as well. So anyway, I got recommended this this Twitter profile, okay, called Nauvoo Supply, all right? And I'd never heard of them. So I was like, okay, cool. What's these guys' deal? You know what I'm saying? And then they actually had on here an independent LDS but artist called Peregrine that had some pretty cool music. It was kind of funny. He's like a rap artist from let me see, LDS rapper. He's like a rap artist from Australia, and he's got a really cool song called Babylon. Here, let me see if this comes up, see if we can play it. This wasn't my favorite one, though, but let's see if we can hear it for a second. Okay, so it's got a cool intro. I'm just going to give you a little teaser here in the middle, see what it's like. The end of time, stand tall, saints. Yeah, so, I mean, it was pretty cool. This wasn't my favorite one. There was another one that was done with another artist called Leland, which I hadn't heard of. But I checked him out, and it was pretty intense. And it was pretty cool. I mean, it had some thunder to it. So I wanted to reach out to this LDS Peregrine guy, but I couldn't find his social media profile. But I found the Leland Tanner guy's social media profile. I was going to say, hey, you know, I listened to one of your beats, and it was actually pretty sick. And I didn't recognize you. So, you know, like, hey, do you want to come on the show? Do you want to send me some music to sample? Like, whatever, you know. And he blocked our profile. he blocked our profile, and I found out like this guy has like Twitter beef with Kwaku or something. When Kwaku said he didn't like Desnat or something, I guess this guy I had a Desnat friend or something, or didn't like something Kwaku said, and so he blocked the Midnight Mormon's Twitter profile. It was the first time in my life that I've ever seen myself blocked access to somebody's Twitter profile. And unfortunately, this rapper that I wanted to promote and actually say, look, I heard this cool song of yours, I want to support fellow LDS authors, he'd block the Midnight Mormon show account. So anyway, LDS Peregrine, I heard a couple of your songs. I thought they were cool. I'd like to know more about you. You know, a first-time listener. Never heard your name mentioned before, ever. But, you know, I'm down with the creation of culture, which is actually what I want to really promote. And it's the biggest reason we went after this rebrand. We are going to be making short films. We're going to be doing a lot more man-in-the-street content. We're going to try and do some short-form documentary content. It's going to be a little bit slow at first, kind of similar to how the Daily Wire was at the beginning. But it will happen. You can count on us. So anyway, Vin and Sori says, LOL, I'll come on the show. Oh, that's a cool little gray graphic. I've never seen that before. And W. Smith says, any chance of a fan retreat? Well, actually, it's very interesting you mentioned that. One of the things Kwaku and I are putting together, per the suggestion of Dan Ellsworth, is we're thinking about doing maybe once or twice a year a live taping of our podcast in an area that supports having a studio audience who then can ask us questions in a Q&A afterwards. Also, I'm very intrigued and in conversations right now with Quick Media. He's doing an Egyptian tour, and it's kind of like this, like boomer bus thing on the water. It's like a kind of old person's Viking river cruises tour, which I'm totally intrigued of. I'm like an 85-year-old. I rip on boomers, but I'm like a total like 85-year-old waiting to happen who can't wait to go on these like river cruises down the Egyptian Nile and just take one of those head nodding tours amongst the pyramids. Like I could totally see myself being happy doing that. So I'm super jealous that these guys are going, and he's doing it for a very affordable rate. I think it's somewhere around $4,000 or so. But anyway, we've thought about doing a Midnight Strike Through Mormons, which will then be the rebranded name. Tour of the Holy Land for those that could come along and visit Jerusalem and also Jordan to see some of these sites like, Bethabara, the Incense Trail, Lehi's Well, so on and so forth. So W. Smith, I don't know if I'd call that a retreat or even a vacation as much as a fun excursion where people get to meet each other. Also, that might be what the Midnight Mormons Discord is for. We might just have live tapings. A lot's going to happen once this rebrand is over. So anyway,
you have like 3 super chats.
yeah,
already.
keep us of the super chats. Just tell us the super chats. Anybody else has any last super chats after we read these? And you got these all out of your system. We're going to have to jam. So yeah, just catch up on the last super chats, babe.
Well, my phone died. So you have to scroll up on.
Oh, your phone died?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's a little charger right there. Can you get the little charger?
Where?
Oh, well, it's in the wall. It's the black, it's the black cord.
I'll do
Well,
that
actually, I'll read
later.
them. I'll read them. Okay, so we got Jonah Barnes saying, nice shirt, Cardin Supreme. Oh, hey, yeah, this is actually a shirt from Royal Army brand, Ben Criddle's brand. You got to check him out. This is the Beat Digger authentic logo, and it's the only logo that I like of BYU. They're contemporary ones I'm not as big a fan of, but I really dig the old school vintage Beat Digger logo. So this is from Royal Army brand. You got to check them out, okay? Also, Tikla says, have you guys already talked about I Am Tongi, Latter-day Saint who won American Idol? Oh, I've heard him brought up in conversation.
I didn't know he was LDS. I heard that he won, but I didn't know anything about him.
Our boy Zach Thompson, who we might have a chance to live stream with this weekend as well, who's a producer of a really cool movie coming out. I think knows him. We were talking about him about this on the phone the other day, but I don't follow. I can't watch the American Idol auditions. I get too awkward.
See, that's the only part I like.
Really?
Yeah, I watch the auditions and then I'm done.
Oh, you're brutal, babe. I just can't do it. You're brutal.
It's entertaining.
But yeah, okay. So anyway, Danny Gray says, hashtag release the rebrand. Look, you got to be patient with us. It is coming. It is coming. All right. It's one step at a time. And let me tell you, they asked $1,200 just for the URL alone. It was straight up brutal. So anyway, last comment we're going to read. Dana Scully says this channel should have 100K members. Really frustrating that some of these LDS channels have so few followers. Have so many followers when they are so awful. Yeah, well, there's definitely an algorithmic incentive to be anti-Mormon. All the woke stuff spreads like absolute wildfire. And
You've seen the LDS channels are awful.
There can be some that are low production quality and so on and so forth.
Or
but
boring.
it can be a little bit boring too. You know what I'm saying? We try and keep it positive. So anyway,
sorry.
Yeah, make sure you guys check us out on midnightmormons.com while that's still up. Please send us an email of any suggestions you have that you think you might like in the rebrand and so on and so forth. And if there's anything I missed, you can hit us up there. You got anything else you want to say before we jam?
No, did you get all the super chats? I feel like you're missing one, but I might be wrong.
No, I think I did. The Tikla. Then I got Jonah Barnes with a nice shirt. And then we got Reward Good Content. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Salt Laurent said, I'd actually be interested to see you kind of establish community of video content like Daily Wire with some other YouTube LDS members. Yes, we're actually going to be trying. I'm actively trying to get others to go. In fact, I don't know if I want to reveal this, but
just do it.
Just do it. Okay. I'm talking with some younger kids because I would like to do like a spin-off on Youth Committee and actually have like a round table of young kids, like Gen Alpha, young Gen Zers, talking about what it's like being a kid in public school and in teenage life right now. And I think that's going to be a fun up and coming thing. Also, we're going to do interviews with awesome old people which are pretty rad. We're going to get some of the oldest people that we can find and interview them and tell their stories. These people are hardcore and they're freaking rad. There's still guys out there that stormed the beaches in Normandy. There's a guy in our war that was freaking JFK's audio-visual guy. I mean, it's pretty wild what we got going on. Vin and Sori, thank you so much for this super chat. Loaded Go to Acrylic says, hey all, haven't seen him for a while. It's very late wherever he is. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Saint Laurent, oh, you are a savage. Saint Laurent, you already gave us a super chat, so I'm going to read your regular comment here. Says, heck yeah, like a better version of Saints Unscripted, LOL. Oh, that is vicious.
Harsh.
They got to work on their thumbnails. I love a lot of the Saints Unscripted content. Sometimes, though, I think in their love to try and tell people that might have a face crisis, they sometimes strangely backdoor justify and agree with some really bad narratives about the church that aren't real. And sometimes I can't tell the difference between their thumbnails and John DeLynne's thumbnails that are arbitrarily worded like, did Joseph Smith, was he really a bad person? Question mark. It's like, wait, what are you trying to say here? Like they got to work on their thumbnails, man. Let's talk. Saints Unscripted, let's talk. So anyway, I got to say though, there is no better content out there that is concise, well prepared, and well studied than, oh, come on, what's his name?
The
Faith
Midnight
and
Strike
Beliefs.
Through Mormons.
Yeah, no, ours is the best. But no, the Faith and Belief section with, I'm totally blanking on his name right now. Come on, I got to look him up. Who's Faith and Beliefs? It's not Brian. It's not Dave. It's, I can't remember his name. It's on the tip of my tongue and I'm going to hate myself. But the Faith and Belief section on Saints Unscripted is some of the best content out there in the bloggernacle right now. So anyway, thanks a lot for hanging out with us, guys.
Do you want me to end with a very corny but hilarious joke?
Sure, hit it.
It's the one I told you this morning.
Don't remember it. What is it?
Then it wasn't very memorable, and I'm not going to say it.
Oh, okay, cool. You just want to say it's been real and it's been fun. It's been real fun. This is Midnight Mormons. Oh, David Snell. Leo Winiger. David Snell. I was right. It was David. Okay. David Snell at Faith and Beliefs. Yes, you're right. So anyway, this has been awesome. You've been hanging out with Brittany the Shadow. We saw Skyler Sorensen a little bit earlier, and you're going to want to check out his podcast. And I've been your host, Cardinellis. It's been real, and it's been fun, and it's been real fun. This is Midnight Strike Through Mormon.